Hello there. So, in today's lesson, I want to walk you through the organization structure that I use in a big project, like a book or a big research project. I just finished a cultural landscape report for Salt Lake City on a historic landscape. And my portion of that document was almost 10,000 pages and had 114 citations. I had thousands of pages of research by the time I was done. So those are the types of projects that I'm talking about here. If you're doing a short, little vignette or a quick family history profile about one person, you don't need all this complexity. But if you suspect that you're going to be doing a lot of research, and if it may become a full book, you may need to organize yourself early on for big time savings later. Trust me on this. So this is the way I do it after years of experimenting and a lot of failures and so much time wasted. So without further ado, I want to walk you through it. Now, as a side note, what's kind of fun about this is I had already planned on teaching this, and at the same time, just this week, I have figured out what my next book is going to be. So I'm in the middle of a full book right now. It's a life story. It will be published. It's on a woman who lived in Berlin in World War II as a child. But my next book, I want to write about an idea. And the idea relates to intuition, how it works, what it is, what we know about it, what we don't know. Why do I sometimes get awakened at 3 a.m. to find something on my desk I didn't know I needed and didn't know was there? Why do I end up in the places of my ancestors? What's just us trying to find connections and what's not? Anyway, that's what I want to start writing on. And I realized that it's going to be a while before I actually start the writing process. But I've already been researching and taking notes, and I need to start organizing it because now I realize it's going to be a full book. And when the time comes to start writing, I want to be able to find stuff. So just this week, I created my new organization structure for this in the future. So there are several components that you need. One of the first things you need is a process. Now, as you're doing research, gathering family history, pulling journals, photos, newspaper articles, etc., you need to digitize things. I've already covered how to digitize in previous tutorials, so I won't cover that, but just suffice it to say you need to get things in a digital format generally, or get photocopies if you're doing copies at a library or something, but somehow you've got to get it home so you can work with it. You may have, in addition to files like photos and research materials, you may have oral history. You may be doing oral history interviews, in which case you will be getting audio files. You need to save those and transcribe them ideally. And then you need to have a place to save it all. So you need a process for digitizing, a place to save it, and a naming convention. So the naming convention that I have come to use is on all of my files. I always, whether I'm using this kind of robust file structure or not, always name my files 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, hyphen, and then I'll give an explanation as to what the file is. So like if it was my journal entry last night while I was walking, I'll show you a little file from that. I was walking out in nature last night and noodling on ideas related to intuition. So I recorded a journal entry and I named it 2021 hyphen 05 hyphen 25, which was yesterday. And then hyphen journal entry, blah, blah, blah. And so that's the general naming convention for everything. If I'm putting files into a specific folder that will become part of a book research project, I add an additional layer of naming convention. Now, I'm going to shift gears and show you physically how I organize the paper files and how I correspond the paper files to my digital files. So I'm going to show you, I use a 3-ring binder system. I know that a lot of historians like to use banker's boxes and folders, and if that works for you, great. I'm not going to change your structure on there. It sounds like you've got it covered if you're doing that. But I like 3-ring binders, and I also like to get these sort of wide binders. I order them or buy them when I can find them on sale. I'm always looking in office supply stores for any 3-ring binders on sale because they can be expensive. And then I buy these letter tabs, A through Z letter tabs. And the reason I like letter tabs as opposed to numbers is that it differentiates between which set. So for example, in a big project, I might go through 3, 4 different tab sets. So like for my Pioneer Park project, I ended up having more than 3 sets. I went through A to Z 3 times. So each set starts with the number like 1, 2, or 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever. So I will have tab set 1. Keep in mind, I don't number them by 3-ring binder because you don't know how big or small the files will be, whether it will take more than 1 binder per tab set, or you won't fit 1 tab set in one. You need to be able to expand or contract. So what's important is the set. So set 1 is 1 hyphen, and then the tab letter would be like letter ABC. So 1 dash A dash. And then if it's a file that has a date associated with it, such as a newspaper article, an oral history interview, something like that, then I will give it the name, 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day. If you're in another country, it might be swapped day versus month, but you get the idea. Then I will do another hyphen and give it enough of an explanation that I can search in I use Dropbox, so I can search in my Dropbox folder for the file and find it easily. So once I've got the file named, then I will upload it to my cloud storage. Maybe you use Google Drive, maybe you use an external hard drive. Like I said, I use Dropbox. So I'm actually going to show you my Dropbox folder and show you a few more things here momentarily. Well, actually, before I do that, I want to show you two more physical things. So this is a brand spanking new folder, and this is I only have 1 physical file in here right now, and that's based on a book I'm starting to do research on at the moment. And then I'm going to show you a full binder, though. This is for the Pioneer Park project. So Pioneer Park, I didn't type it up and make the spine pretty. Maybe I should have. But I have a table of contents here in the front. And then you can see I put some like maps and things up here in the front. But I have all my tabs down the side here. So you see this particular binder only goes A through S. And then it got too fat and I started a new binder. So my tab set 1 is split through 2 different binders. Another thing that I have for organizing my thoughts as I go, 2 things. One is I like to get these little notebooks. I used to do legal pads and scratch paper, but I found that I would just throw them away. I didn't take the notes as seriously, and I had a really hard time finding things because I was always taking the notes out. So what I've started instead, I actually have a stack of these on my desk for different projects. I give each project its own notebook. So I buy these in bulk, and I have a different notebook for each project. That may be overkill for you, but I'm a writer and my pen or pencil is just always going. It's sketching, I'm thinking, I'm processing as I go. So I need some place to capture that and to capture it in order. So I do that kind of note taking here. So like here's my Pioneer Park notebook, and you can just see I'll put phone numbers and notes and all kinds of things in here. You can't see that because it's washed out, but that's just as well. You don't need to see my messy notes. And then the other thing is I do a lot of audio journaling. So if I'm out and about and I'm processing ideas and I want to try to either figure out what I think because I'm a verbal person, I talk things through. So I'm talking to myself. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's what gets it out of my head and into a more clarified format. So I do a ton of audio journaling. So I'll turn on my audio file with my headset. I'll be out for a walk, driving, and I'm recording thoughts that way. And then I run those thoughts if I want to keep them through a transcription program. So those are the different collection bins for my projects. Now I'm going to show you how I organize them in Dropbox. So I'm going to share my screen here momentarily. And we're going to go to Chrome. That's Citation Machine, which I will show you in a moment. This is my Dropbox folder, brand new folder for this project entitled Intuition. And in here, I have several important file types right off the bat. One of the file types I just abbreviate this and call it all transcripts. And pretty much with all of my writing projects, I will have an all transcripts file. So for example, the project I'm working on right now, the life story, which again will be a full book of Heidi about her experience in World War II and then coming to America. Every time I go interview her and I have a digital recorder file, I will bring that home. I will immediately name it, upload it into Dropbox, run it through the transcription program. I use Happy Scribe. Some people may use like Otter or other programs to transcribe. That's a topic for another day. But first thing, I save the files, delete the files from my digital recorder so that I don't have clutter on all of my devices. Trust me, you don't want to either lose them or have to be constantly going through them. Did I already save this? It's just a big time waster. Just don't be lazy. Do it immediately. So I'll have it either on a digital recorder or my phone. I upload it to Dropbox, and then I run the transcription file through, and then I copy and paste the entire transcript into my all transcripts file. So here you will see all transcripts. So in this all transcripts file, I have the beginning of notes from this book I'm reading, Atomic Habits. I only included a little bit from this. I'll show you in a second, copying it over. And then this is a journal entry on just discussing some of the ideas that I had after reading Atomic Habits and processing how I might add to those ideas. So this is an audio journal run through a transcription program. Then the next type of file is an actual manuscript. Now, I don't have a manuscript started yet on this project, so I actually just pulled over my manuscript I'm working on for Heidi's book, just to show you what I mean and how I organize it. So an important note is that I always just have one manuscript file for the entire book. I do not break it into chapters because it becomes difficult to find things. You'll think you'll remember that it's in chapter 3. You won't. You'll be working along and you're like, did I include that scene where her son goes swimming with Willie and they almost drown? And so I type in Willie and go straight to it and say, yep, I already included it. Don't need to include it here. So otherwise you have to open 3 different files and hunt for it, and it's just a big pain. So while I'm working on a document, I work on the entire manuscript in one big giant file. Sometimes I'll work offline in just a different document while I'm just working for a day, and then I'll plunk it into the manuscript. But that's an exception to the rule and not how I work on a daily basis. The other organizational component to how I do this is anytime a new year is added to a file, I will add the year right here, like 1958. And then when it becomes 1959, scroll down here. Let's see if we have a 1959. Let's search 1959. Let's see what happens. Yep, sure enough. Now, anytime I know that something happened in 1959, it's easy to get there because I've included this marker. Now, I will take those these headers out when the manuscript is done, but it's a good marker to help me navigate because I also don't break it into chapters while I'm working usually because I don't know where the chapter breaks will end up being. I also watch my word count as I go. By the way, this is only half of her manuscript. I did break it into 2 parts for reasons that don't need to be explained here, but so 24,000 words in this portion of the manuscript. So in the all transcripts file, I will first copy and paste over the name of the file. So we went through the naming convention earlier, and then I copy and paste the file itself. So here, this may be ultimately 700, 800, 900, 2,000 pages by the time I'm done with an entire research project. If I've been copying and pasting excerpts from like somebody's other book or my notes or et cetera, it could get very long. So then the next type of file that I have is research from an external source. And for all of these, I will create a cover sheet. So I mentioned I'm reading the book Atomic Habits right now. And so one of the first things that I do is I will create a cover sheet, and I will put that cover sheet straight in the 3-ring binder. So this is my very first research file. So I've made a note here at the top, Atomic Habits. Then I go to tab A, and I have copied and pasted this cover sheet. On the cover sheet, I include the file name. So this is tab set 1, letter A, Atomic Habits hyphen James Clear. Then the next thing I do is immediately, right up front, while I'm still feeling energized, is I copy and paste the full citation of the book here. And that way I don't have to do it later, because citations are a pain and you won't want to do it later. So I just do it. And the way that I do that, by the way, is with Citation Machine. If I know there are other ways I use Citation Machine, you just go in, create citation, you do a search for the book, type in Atomic Habits. I already did this, so it's still in my memory cache. Search. It's looking great. Found it. It's already done the citation because I did it earlier, but continue. So do I want to do the whole book? Is there anything else I want to add? Complete citation. Now I have 2 on the bibliography because I created it twice, but copy the citation, paste it back here into the cover sheet. And then I include also any provenance of how I came to obtain this particular resource. If it's a book like I bought or got at the library, not necessarily that big of a deal. I might mention I've listened to it on Audible. It's really not that important. But if it's something that I found in Aunt Jane's attic in a shoebox, or if it came out of a particular photo album, or if someone gave it to me, or I sat down and had lunch with a historian and they told me this story, I will mention the provenance of that piece of information or the source right here, because I just think it's important to document how things came into your possession, because context often matters. And I love getting that sort of thing from a researcher in the future, because those clues can be awfully valuable sometime in the future. So then I start including all of my notes and excerpts. So like I said, early on, I will print out this cover sheet and just put it in here in the binder as a placeholder. But I will go back to the electronic document and add in additional notes as I go. And I don't reprint it every time. I just keep it electronically. And then once I've done a big update to this narrative here, my notes, I will copy. I just did a Control-C there, or an Apple Command-C, and then hop on over to the all transcripts, go back up to Atomic Habits, and paste over what I had there because I have some more notes. So I just keep this all transcripts file active all the time. And I'm going to stop share now. And the reason I do that is that it makes it super easy to find stuff. If you've got documents all over a whole bunch of files, it can be really difficult to find your research and find ideas on a particular point. So in the end, like I said, I may have 1,500 pages in that all transcripts file, but it makes it super easy to go in and type in the word Willie and find her son's friend Willie, or the dog Barry, or any other idea, the coal stove or whatever, because I'll know that I'll find that particular interview by those keywords. Otherwise, how would you possibly go back and find the details that you need from all of the oral history interviews I've done over a 2-year period with someone, it just becomes very unwieldy. And most of my projects are pretty complex, and I need to go back and look at the details when I actually get into that place in the writing. It's amazing how you think a detail doesn't matter so much, or it doesn't strike you at all until you're into the writing, and then you need the context and you're like, oh, that's so important, and I didn't realize it when she told me at the time. So the all transcripts file becomes super duper useful. So that's basically it. That's my walkthrough of my organization structure and my naming conventions. I hope this helps.